That means that every single person with African descent, black person, melanated person, whatever you want to call yourself, you need to be learning Swahili. This is probably one of my most important videos to date because it's all about unity, and Africa and the African diaspora needs to unite. And what does that mean exactly, right? Because we need tangible things on how we can unite. So we're going to get into that. Before we go into that, we need to go into the what, when, why, so we're all clear, right? So when is the easiest one to answer? When is now, or yesterday, or last year, or last decade, or last century? Yeah, we needed to unite a long time ago, but what better time than now? So that's clear. Who am I talking about? It's a good question. In the most layman terms, black people all over the world. Simple. And when I say black, yes, some people say melanated people, but there are people with melanin that aren't black, right? There's people with pigment that aren't black people. So I'm talking about anyone from Africa or the African diaspora, African descent. And that is something that we need to even go a little bit further into, who has African descent, right? Because there's these big talks right now about because black people were indigenous to places like the Americas, they're not African. False. Yes, we have been lied to, y'all. Yes, a lot of our history is false. A lot of our history has been omitted. And one big part of our history is that black people are indigenous to the Americas. Yes, that is true. But what people don't think further, but where did they come from before they reached the land of the Americas? Africa. So just because, yes, they tried to tell us that every black person in the Americas came on slave ships. That's not true. Some of us were rich African explorers that came prior. Some of us were indigenous people. But when they say indigenous, we still only know humans to be created on the continent in Africa. Yes, they traveled to all inhabit different parts of the world, and there are people that looked like me or darker, and they were indigenous to certain lands. So just because your ancestors might have come to America hundreds of years before mine doesn't mean that we're not related and we're not brothers and sisters. So that's kind of like the oneness that we need to look at it. We're different. We have different stories. We're not monolithic, but we are one. And we have to understand the unity of one and the unity of being in the majority. Don't let anyone in this world tell you as a black person that you are a minority. That is false, and that is strategic, right? They don't want us to connect with each other. So it doesn't matter if you're living in Seattle and there's only 2 of you. You have to know that you are the majority in this world, and you need to connect with your brothers and sisters in this world. And that gives you a sense of power and belonging. You are not alone. They want us to be divided and segregated and think that because you come from the city and I come from here, I'm different. Or because you come from Africa and I come from England, we're different. No, we are one. We need to unite. Even in the why, we need to even understand that even in the transatlantic, and I don't say transatlantic slave trade anymore, I say transatlantic slave war, because it was a war, it wasn't a trade. Don't believe the lies. Your kings did not sell you. They fought for you and died for you.
Our fathers fought, and that was the only way for them to get access of you. It was over their dead bodies, and that's exactly what happened. So know that.
They waged war on Africa and her people, and it was the transatlantic slave war. And in that war, obviously we know there were ships that took us and dropped us off at different places, dropped brothers and sisters off in different countries. So just, you know what I'm saying, your father could be in Brazil and you were brought to Jamaica. And so I don't think people understand the oneness of everyone along that route, that you literally could be closely connected with people that were scattered to 4 corners of the world. So that's one. And 2, the why. we weren't united when we lost the slave war, and that's why we were able to be defeated. Each kingdom was able to be attacked individually and defeated. Some won.
Like the Mahdi in Sudan, Sayyid Muhammad Abdullah Hassan in Somalia, he fought a 20-year war against the British and Italians and gave them this warning.
If you wish war, I am happy. If you wish peace, I am also content. But if you wish peace, go away from my country to your own. If you wish war, stay where you are.
They would have put slave dungeons all over the continent. There's a lot of parts that won, so they weren't able to do that. And the West Coast is a lot of the places that they were able to win. And we weren't united. Queen Ngon II from Nubia Path to Return, she has an excellent video explaining, speaking to our ancestors on what really happened. I'll put that video, the link below, and that basically because the African kings didn't unite and fight the colonizer and fight the white man, it's partially why we lost. So we can't let that happen again, y'all, because stay thinking that they ain't gonna try it again, because you can already see that they're waging war on the black man, the black woman, on black love, on Africa and the diaspora. It's mind-boggling to see how much they're fixated on Africa and her people, us. How? This is the most important thing. The how is, one, we need to love ourselves and love each other. So loving yourself, loving your blackness, being proud of your blackness, being proud of your melanin and your naps and all the things that make us different. That's number one. Two, loving your brother and sister like you love yourself, and treating your brother and sister like you treat yourself. And when you see injustice done to one, it's injustice to all. And that's partially why I can't live in America much longer, y'all. I'm over it. So how they're treating our brothers and sisters here, like I'm a warrior. I can't cry, march, file a lawsuit against certain type of injustice. War is war. You kill my brother, eye for an eye. That's what I'm saying. I'm an eye for an eye type of person. I'm very nonviolent. I'm very peaceful. Don't F with me. They're effing with us here, right? So that's why I'm like, you know what? This is a toxic environment. Let me go back home. People think home is Jamaica. I just don't see Jamaica as my home. That was a stop, y'all. That was a stop for maybe a couple 100 years, but that's not our home. And that's why DNA tests, I know a lot of people are against them because you can't trust every company, but my mom is an organic chemist. I know the power of DNA. DNA can't be altered. Well, they can try, y'all. And that's why this last VACCINE, which they can't legally even really call it that, can alter your DNA actually. But that's a whole nother story, and I'm not called here to explain that to y'all. I think y'all already know about that. But your DNA can connect you to your forefathers, to your ancestors. Mine, 93% African. So I'm looking forward to getting my Sierra Leone citizenship at the end of this year, the Most High willing. Okay, so the hows. First and foremost, one language. One language. And King Bugani announced that that language should be Swahili.
My first task is to call for unity of all Africans and to do away and bury all those xenophobic or Afrophobic tendencies, especially in South Africa. Today it is my task to cleanse those blood that was spilled here in Africa, especially in South Africa. Today is the unity. If you've seen today, all nations were here today. I am going to be leading them. I'm going to make sure that there is oneness in this continent. That is my biggest task. And to make sure that social welfare is given to all the people of Africa, including the diaspora.
King Bugani announced that that language should be Swahili. That means that every single person with African descent, black person, melanated person, whatever you want to call yourself, you need to be learning Swahili. If you don't have money, there are lots of great YouTube pages where you can learn. Here's a clip of one.
Welcome to Swahili Pod 101. one way to learn Swahili. Hamjamboni, mimi ni Medina. Shukran kwa kuungana na mimi katika kipindi hii. Hi everybody, I'm Medina. Thank you for joining me. In this series, you're going to learn basic Swahili expressions.
So start there. I've been doing Duolingo as well. It's like a game. There's a free version and a paid version. Definitely at least do the free version. You learn very cool phrases. And then my next step after I get to a certain point, I'm going to hire someone who speaks Swahili to teach me so I can be fluent and conversational. You stay there and think that the colonizer isn't learning Swahili. You stay there and think that the colonizer isn't in your home or plotting to be in your home or to own your home or to control your home or control her people. So you need to do it first. You need to love yourself and love your country. Okay, when we say One Africa, I think this needs to be explained because some people try to think like, oh, she don't know what she's talking about, y'all. Like, Ghana is not the same as Benin, and South Africa is very different than Ethiopia. Yeah, I know, but this is the key thing. Who divided us? The colonizer. And we shouldn't recognize anything that the colonizer did, right? It was one Africa. And they came and carved it up for their pleasures.
1884, Berlin, Germany. The leaders of 14 European countries and the United States met at a conference. The aim of the conference was for Western countries to avoid warring among themselves over Africa. The superpowers wanted to ensure maximum control over Africa's resources by establishing rules by which to divide the spoils at the expense of the Africans who rightly own them.
And the carving up resulted in different segregated countries. When really and truly we're a nomadic people. We're certain tribes, and really a few, that used to travel from Egypt to South Africa. So you could literally have brothers and sisters all over the continent that are the same tribe. But then if you just lock it into like, oh, at this point in time, these people in this region, you act like they're not connected and they have different, and yes, we grow different customs and we grow different even, languages and things like that over time, but we are one. Africa is one, and we need to stand up as one. We're anti-colonization, anti-colonial mentality and mindset. Clearly, that is pervasive in the diaspora and on the continent. So just because you're African living in Africa all your life, you are not exempt to hearing this and to taking heed, right? You are no different than your brother and sister in diaspora, because you were just as brainwashed and filled with propaganda to hate Africa and to hate the things that make you great, your blackness. So we're all coming actually from the same playing field. One currency. So one currency, I'm hearing that it's supposed to be the Lumi.
Introducing the African Kingdom's Lumi, a non-fiat digital currency that is underwritten by an established unit value, equating to 100 kilowatt-hours of solar energy at a market value equal to 0.2592 grams of gold, which equates to $15.96 per AK Lumi. The AK Lumi is classic money with the following features. 1. It is a store of value. 2. It is a unit of account. And 3. It is a medium of exchange. It is interesting to note that the most valuable currencies in the world are not the US dollar or the euro, but the Kuwaiti dinar, the Bahraini dinar, and the Omani riyal. This is because these semi-fiat currencies are underpinned by a correlation between their monetary policies and their hydrocarbon-based economies. The AK Lumi, being underpinned by gold and or renewable solar energy, thus abandons the fiat currency system altogether and establishes its value as a premium currency on the global market, whilst restoring real value to African monetary policy.
It's a currency that's coming from the Maroons in Jamaica that the African Union is about to kind of establish as the currency. So please, there'll be links in the description to research more. Just keep your eye out on different things, but we must have one currency. We all know Gaddafi died for trying to unite Africa under one currency.
Muammar Gaddafi has positioned himself as a champion of the continent, vigorously promoting the Pan-Africanist idea of a United States of Africa, a continent with one army, one passport, one currency, called the Afro.
So this is something that we can't leave up to our leaders. You know, each one of us needs to be screaming these things from the rooftop, because they can't kill all of us, y'all. And then just get to know Africa and get to know her. So whether, like me, you're gonna go and live there, or you're just gonna go visit more instead of always going to Fiji, or always going to, even myself, Jamaica, go to the continent. There's so many beautiful places for you just to visit, to get to know her and get to know parts of yourself. A couple just extra tangible things that will help us unite is it's the anti-colonial mentality and the mindset, right? And part of that is religion. We've been indoctrinated into religions that were taught to us by the colonizer, that taught us to hate some of the most powerful things about ourselves. And that includes our African spirituality. Does that mean that everything spiritual going on in Africa is for you? No. You know, there are positive and negatives of every culture, right? And there are things that you should do and stay away from in every culture, including African culture. So you need to just know yourself to know what that is, right? They've perverted Africa and a lot of our African leaders and things like that. So we have a long way to go, y'all, but it is a beautiful, beautiful place. I can't wait. By the end of the year, I will have citizenship to Sierra Leone, and that will give me ECOWAS status, so I'll be able to travel freely to all the West African countries, and then hopefully soon the African Union passport will be instated.
We know that at times countries will prioritize the movement of goods from country A to country B as opposed to the movement of the people, and migration is quite a very topical issue in Africa. So we spoke to the leader of the Nigerian Union here in South Africa, and they say this is quite a very long overdue move.
It's going to help naturally solve some migration issue. All these immigration bottlenecks here and there, it will naturally solve it. And this will also help government to invest more in national reorientation of people. Orientation and reorientation of people to say that this is one Africa. It's a borderless Africa now.
One Africa, right? Love y'all.